Coming out, clear. All right. One left. Get in here!
Who's in there?
Who's in there? She's on the left, she's on the left. Are you hit? No.
Are you in there?
Are you good? I'm ready. To your right.
Okay, he's gonna be in there. Get out here. Get out here. Come on.
Coming.
Come on, quick.
Good? Good. Done. Go back, go check, go check, go out, check. Check her!
Hey!
Check her! Check
He's
her!
in here. Hey, come on.
Reload,
I
reload.
can't see the freaking.
You're right, reload.
Slow down, everybody.
Anyone that's sharp, reload. Go out and get checked. You're okay, go get checked. I'm good.
He's like reloading.
Stop, get down. Here's what we're doing.
Get out.
Before I really get into this, do me a favor, feed the algorithm down below, and if you're not subscribed yet, it would be cool if you were. A little bit of the backstory, which isn't relevant to what I'm discussing here. Officers respond to a burglary at a residence. Officers are on the front porch. They see the suspect inside. The front door is open. Officers address the suspect. Suspect runs out the back. Officers give chase to the suspect around the house. An officer engages the suspect 4 or 5 times, and I believe he probably didn't hit him at all. Now officers are searching an area where they believe the suspect to be. Why they decided to search this house in particular, I'm not sure, but officers end up in a house in the general area where the suspect may or may not be, which is one of the most common searches that officers do, searching for a suspect who may or may not be inside. Now, let's pretend everything you've been told about CQB doesn't serve you well when the standard exists on the other side of this door. Whether you're moving dynamically after taking 30 seconds to breach a door, or you happen to be moving more deliberately once you're already inside. What's actually happening, or should be happening, in law enforcement is a covert search. If you're hung up on the word covert because they know you're there, it's just a name for a thing. You can call it whatever you want. The goal of a covert search is to identify where the suspect is and hopefully not do that by getting dropped by his gunfire in the threshold or even worse, inside of the room. SWAT does covert searches with robots, drones, and even gas is utilized as a mechanism for discovery. For SWAT, entry itself is utilized as a last resort, meaning they have exhausted all other tactical options, and even when they do make it inside, it's very slow and methodical with shields and probably utilizing robots again. Warrant teams usually have less luxuries, meaning no fancy equipment. Typically, we prefer to conduct surveillance, do a vehicle takedown on our suspects away from their residence because we felt confident we could maintain a tactical advantage. Knowing exactly where the target is seated, maintaining surprise in unmarked vehicles, and being able to get into a position of domination quickly. Meaning by the time the suspect realizes what's happening, we're already pointing our guns at him, and by that point, he's starting to come around to making a decision. Versus stepping into an unknown layout with unknown threats to impossibly cover multiple angles simultaneously. Most cops die where that officer almost did. Not physically standing in the doorway, but before they have an opportunity to fire a round. How great is your marksmanship if you're already shot? Not great. Tactics get you to the point where marksmanship matters, preferably a position to shoot first, and if not, then placing yourself in a position to have the ability to respond. I'm gonna start with more of a warrant team level style of searching, and then I'll get to the principles that apply to everyone, with the only difference basically being equipment. Every time we ran a warrant, we had basically 4 tools. We had a Moby, a pry, a shield, and a fire pole. This is not a fire pole, this is actually a painter's pole. A fire pole is pretty good to break and rake windows. It's also okay to open doors, with the issue with the fire pole being it is what it is, it's the length that it is, and you're not gonna be able to adjust it or change it or manipulate the equipment to work for you. This is a painter's pole. You can get them at Lowe's, Home Depot, pretty much anywhere, probably buy them on Amazon. And you can adjust this to various lengths to suit your needs. This one in particular has a head on it that you can angle to grab onto things at a different angle. And you can also unscrew the head and apply different heads. This one in particular at the moment has whatever the device is used to hook a rope and attach it to the dock for boating purposes. And this works fine. Now you'll notice that that door does not have a doorknob on it, so it actually wasn't able to latch, so it's partially open. And if we're gonna take some guesses at the officer's body position, she was probably exposed to the door as she was opening the door. Maybe she was a little bit offset as she was opening the door and started to move. And at best, if we're giving her the benefit of the doubt, she was staying mostly, concealed. And as she opened the door, she didn't wait for the door to come all the way open and started moving and exposed herself. Now, how would SWAT search this hallway and search these rooms? Now, let's say, for example, SWAT was inside the house already because they made a decision to go inside. Well, they would stay back at the farthest position away from the actual door itself. They would have already cleared these rooms back here, and then they would throw a robot into the hallway. They would send a robot into these rooms and make sure they're mostly clear before actually advancing down the hallway. Now on a warrant team, we're still using the same mentality as SWAT teams, which is we don't want to commit to a room with a person with a handgun, and we don't want to be exposed to a door when it comes open with a person that's armed and trying to hurt us, because there is no winning in that situation. So we would use the same mentality by staying as far away from these potential threats as possible. We would have gained a foothold already inside where the officers made entry in the living room, the kitchen, whatever those 2 rooms down the hallway were. And once I see the problem, if I'm the person working the equipment, working the pole, I only have to see it one time, and I don't really have to expose myself again in order to work the problem, as long as you're familiar with the tools and how to use them. So we would get the pole ready, I would look at it, we'd probably have a shield down the hallway and maybe a couple shields, work the pole, get the pole down there. I would work the pole all the way up until I actually I'm touching the door, which I can feel in the pole that I'm touching the door. I would communicate, non-verbally probably, with the person who has lethal coverage that he is ready for the door to come open. And then I would manipulate the door, let the individuals that have lethal coverage deal with whatever they need to as the door comes open. My responsibility as the person working the pole is that job. It's not to hurry up and get on the gun or put myself in a position to also shoot, right? That's my responsibility in that moment. Now, patrol officers aren't going to carry poles, and mainly because, well, you just can't really fit them anywhere except the beds of trucks. You definitely can't fit them in police cars. You can fit them in regular cars. And they also are probably worried about the way that people perceive them, right? Working these problems in these ways. So what can you do as a patrol officer? Well, we can do the same thing, essentially, and open this door with very little to no exposure and allow the people down the hallway to assess what's inside this room. We want the suspect to shoot at perceivably nothing, because he shouldn't probably see anybody in this situation, and let these officers down the hallway handle that problem. So what would we do in that situation? If we had moved down the hallway and we were here, well, our only option is to actually work the door, right? We have no other tools available to us to work the door. So if I'm here down the hallway, again, looking at my officers that are holding lethal coverage down the hallway, getting a head nod that they're ready, I like to use my foot, I would kick the door open, and I can use this angle here to either attack if I need to attack, and because she had a room going this way, you can always use that in a defensive way as well to get out of the way and move if you needed to. So not only are we opening the door and not being exposed, but we're covering inside the room from a distance, and I'm also looking this direction, so if there's no shooting that's taking place by these officers or me, we've basically cleared 95% of the room, except that closet that's over there and this hard corner over this direction. So here's what your options are if you have no equipment. You can move down the hallway, clear this room, and then when it's time to go in this room, you can do the normal CQB thing that everyone likes to do, which is basically go in the room with the guy with the gun. Now, in training, when we send an officer this way and we send an officer that way, and the suspect who's playing the suspect shoots 5 times before we can address him, and then we shoot him and he goes down, we call that a victory, when in reality, a bunch of people just got shot and we just pretended like it didn't happen. So you can either take the room, or you can open the door without being exposed, let lethal coverage cover down inside the room from a distance. If there's no shooting, then you can advance forward and start clearing these rooms. As a suspect looking at this door, which option do you think gives you the opportunity to hit an officer? And as the officer working this door, which option do you think gives you the opportunity to not get hit and also be available to respond with gunfire? Before you go, you should tap on this photo to subscribe if you're not already, and you should check out this video because YouTube is recommending it specifically for you.